Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm really excited to have you join me today because we have a really awesome sublimation project. Now today we are making our own sublimation face socks. Alright guys, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and of course the very first thing that I want to do is check my page setup. Now I've selected my machine to none because I'm not cutting this design. My cutting mat will also change to none, and then my media size will be custom because I'm printing on a 13 by 19 sheet of paper. Now I just want to say if your printer does not print large format pages, that's okay because the design that we're going to do is not a solid background design. We are going to cover our socks in emoji faces because a lot of people who do these socks, not only are emojis really darn cute, right, but that will kind of help you learn how to set up your own designs. For example, a friend of mine made socks for her mom. Her mom is a very avid dog lover, so she took photos of her dog faces and put them all over socks for her. So there's definitely a lot of inspiration to be found by doing these. These make really cute practical gifts for people who really love socks. I personally really love socks. But then they're also cute gag gifts because you can use pretty much any type of face or design or anything for that matter. But faces are very, very common for these socks. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to draw a box. Now I created a jig. You'll see more about that whenever we go over to our workstation. But what I did was I put the sock on this jig and was able to measure and make sure the size that I needed for my socks. So that size ended up being 5 inches wide and 18 inches long. Now, I'll be honest with you, the sock jig actually could have been a little bit longer, but that was the longest piece of continuous cardstock that I had, or continuous cardboard, I mean. So what I did was I did scrunch it a little bit, but I still think it's going to work really well. If you are going to be doing socks or a lot of socks in your future, I definitely would check into getting an actual sublimation jig from a sublimation vendor. Most sublimation vendors sell them. They're more reliable than the jig that I made out of cardboard, and then also you'll be able to use them for a really, really long time. But for now, I have a rectangle that is going to represent the size of one side of my sock. So I will get one sock to every sheet of wide format paper. All right. Now let's go ahead and bring over some of our faces. These are all my designs. So of course I can just select the ones that I want, drag and drop them over into my software. All right. So let's start with these. I'm going to zoom out and I'll just grab all of these at one time and size them down. Then what I can do is just start placing these wherever I want them to be. I do want to try to keep them within the sock area because what that means is I don't want part of it hanging off the edge because this isn't going to be a seamless design. All right, now if I wanted it to be a seamless design, I could set it up that way, but that's not what we're going for right now, so that's not what we're going to do. Because this is not an actual sock jig like we talked about, it is a lot harder to get socks that do not have the white stripe from where the fold is, because obviously socks are, these are tube socks, so I can only press one side at a time. Now, I do think I'm going to have to make these a little smaller. That's okay. All right, so once I fill up the entire design, I can just select the entire thing and then use the shortcut on my keyboard, Control and right arrow. Of course, I'm going to group these together. My red line actually will not print. It's just going to be there as a guide. And then of course I can center them to page. So what this will allow me to do is to print out both of these. Now, especially if I had text or designs that it mattered, I would need to go ahead and mirror these, but I do not. So I did notice that the order of this one here got a little out of place. So I'll fix that real quick, check over the rest of it. I think we're good. But basically I will just be able to print this out on my sublimation printer. And like I said, I'll need to print 2 pages. That way I have one for each sock. And then we will go over and I'll show you all about the jig that I made, and we will be able to press these on. Alright guys, so this is my sublimation print. I've already cut this one down. And this is the original size of my sock. And then this is the sock inside the jig. Now, like I said, I went ahead and inserted it so that I would be able to measure out my sock. And all I did was simply take a little tape measure that I have and measure width and then also measure length, okay? Completely up to you how you want to determine that size, but that worked well for me. The other thing that I'm going to use is my Krylon Easy Tack Spray. You know, I use this for almost all of my sublimation projects. And what I'm going to do is give it a shake. Then I want to spray my design. Now, this is good practice for any sublimation, but especially because we're going to be using our Cricut Easy Press, it makes it extra good because it means that we will be able to freely move our press here without worrying about it coming loose. So now there are different types of, different types of jigs. This one is just, I did it straight instead of a curved jig because I wanted to flatten out the heel. These socks are not actual sublimation socks. They just happen to be socks that I found on Amazon that are 100% polyester. So you may be able to find socks that have a black heel and a black toe, and those are a little bit easier to get along with because you don't have to worry about sublimating those areas. Go ahead and cover this with butcher paper. Now I am at 400 degrees for 60 seconds. All right, so let's see how we did. There we go, super cute, right? So all we'll do is flip this over and repeat the process. I need a new sheet of butcher paper. Go ahead and spray our next print. And because we're not doing a full wrap design, it really gives us more flexibility as far as, not having to have our alignment perfect. So that always makes me feel better too. Just as cute as the first side. So let's give this just a second to cool, and then we will go ahead and remove it from the jig, and then we'll talk more about that and how I created it. All right guys, so that is our adorable sock. I really love it. I love it, love it, love it. So let's talk more about this jig. You can tell that it's a little on the thin side. That's because it has been used probably about 5 or 6 times now. So don't judge it too harshly. But what I did, guys, was I took the end of one of my flip-flops and put it down here. And I just basically traced enough to give me a little bit of a toe look. And then I tried to carry it all the way back. Now, if you're skilled, you can do this with a box cutter. I just used standard scissors. Definitely not your good scissors. Use the cheap scissors. And I have used this, like I said, 5 or 6 times. I have not had any problems with ink transfer because that's something that I really worried about. So if that's something that you're worried about too, then you may want to try to get some pieces of butcher paper in here before you press, but I did not find that necessary. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the same jig, and what I'm gonna do, just like if I was going to put a sock on my foot, I'm gonna scrunch it up, slide it onto the bottom, and then start pulling from there. Now, I don't want to pull this too tight because, like I said, the sock is actually a little bit longer than the jig itself. But if you had a longer piece of cardboard, then that wouldn't be a problem. But the most important part for me on the back is to make sure that my heel can at least be pushed down. So like you can see that it does still come up a little bit, but if you push it down, that tells me that when pressing, I'll be able to press that down into place, okay? So let's grab these prints. So what I'm gonna do is just repeat the same process that we already saw on this set of sock, or on rather this sock on both sides, and then we will take a look at our finished project. All right, guys, well, this is how you make your own sublimation face socks. I used emoji, but feel free to use a face that is near and dear to you. But guys, this is how it's done using a homemade jig, no special tools required. And if I do say so myself, they are just absolutely adorable. So guys, how did you feel about our sublimation face socks? Now, of course, I think they're really cute. I think they're relatively easy to make. I don't know that I would classify it a beginner project, but it is definitely something worth trying. And really, in the big scheme of things, these socks are pretty darn inexpensive. And like I said, they make really great gifts. They're funny gifts. They're gifts that everybody will enjoy. So if you have any questions or comments about anything we did today or sublimation in general, please make sure you leave that below. I love to hear from you guys. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you get all the greatest videos and help support our little channel so that we can keep on bringing you the things that you want to see. So I'm going to wrap it up for today, guys, but I do really appreciate it, and we will see you again next time.